Yo, what is going on, guys? Randall Thor 19, the Man with the Million, back again with another daily video. So sorry I missed yesterday. I've just been so swamped with schoolwork and tests and papers that I haven't had much time to make videos or do random new spotlights or play games at all, for that matter. I've barely put any time into Mass Effect yet, and that bums me out. But hopefully, this weekend's going to be a little bit different. We're going to do a little quick video here about Phil Spencer and how he thinks that Xbox first party is critical for Xbox Scorpio. I agree completely. So yeah, let's talk about this. So Phil, on Wednesday night, he did one of those question and answer things he normally does on Twitter from time to time. I personally love the fact that he takes the time out of his busy day to interact with fans and answer their questions and, hear their complaints about the Xbox ecosystem or whatever, issues they have with the Xbox. It's cool to see the interaction from an executive level, and I'm always interested in what he has to say because knowing Phil on a personal level, I know that what he's saying is truthful because Phil is a really awesome dude. He's a really nice guy, and he means what he says. So when he says that Xbox first party is critical for Scorpio, he's, telling the truth and means it 100%. So you can see I have the article here from Games Industry Biz. I'm sure if you go to Phil's Twitter page, all the tweets will be up there for you to peruse through as well. But let's talk about this. So in the Twitter Q&A session, he said that we're very focused on first-party games. I'll be careful about when we announce things, but I know strong first-party is critical, adding that having those first-party games ready for Scorpio launch is also critical. This is so very true. Timing is everything. Revealing something when it's right is also very important. And I know I recently gave them a lot of slack, a lot of criticism for the controller stuff. It was heat of the moment type thing, but, it's been said. But let's get back to this statement here. I'll be careful about when we announce things. That's because he knows that they've announced things too soon. Scalebound announced way too soon. We know what happened to Scalebound. The Phantom Dust remaster, or the new Phantom Dust game, that the people who were making the game didn't even know there were going to be a trailer, announced too soon because that ended up being canceled. And if you look at what Xbox has been doing recently, they're holding a lot of their cards to their chest. We know the games that are coming this year, right? But we don't know what's beyond. And that can be good and that can be bad. It's kind of bad right now because Sony is very open about what they're doing for the future. So you look over at Sony's side and you're like, I wish I could point to a game coming in 2018 or 2019 and be like, that's something to look forward to. Where Xbox is taking the approach of, hey, we're gonna let these games, build past milestones before we're ready to show anything. And that's because Phil and everybody at Xbox has been kind of burned recently on a few of these games. So I understand why they want to wait they want to wait and be more careful about when they announce things. And having a strong IP is absolutely critical. Look at the Nintendo Switch right now. The Nintendo Switch, Nintendo's doubling production from 8 million to 16 million. There's talk that the Nintendo president was like, we're planning on selling 110 million of these things. And that is all based around the fact of that strong first-party lineup that Nintendo has. That Zelda game, the Mario game, Pokemon, all those legendary IPs. And that's something Microsoft needs. Well, they have too, but I know there's been a ton of Mario games and a ton of Zelda games, but it seems that those games are still fresh in a way that maybe Halo and Forza are not. But yeah, first party is super strong. Look at Sony. People are always say when they compare Microsoft to Sony right now, they say Sony's got all these games coming. Because Sony also realized this, and I've made this video before about how exclusives don't necessarily matter that much anymore because the games that sell the most now are multi-platform games, but first-party games still matter to keep your audience happy, to keep your audience engaged, and to get those experiences that you can't get on rival platforms. He also said here the first party games ready for Scorpio launch is critical. Like, looking at the lineup right now that we know, we got Crackdown 3, we got Sea of Thieves, we got State of Decay 2 coming all up, right? You're assuming some of those are going to launch with Scorpio. They might be treating this like a actual new console release. Now, I'm not sure if that's the best idea. I'm not sure, if Scorpio is coming out in November like we all think it is. I'm not necessarily sure that putting Sea of Thieves and State of Decay 2 and Crackdown 3 as launch titles in November is the best idea, but I get what he's trying to say. Like, it's important for Scorpio to launch with all those games. I've heard rumors that State of Decay 2 is, they're basically playing near final build right now at Redmond. There's a possibility it might come out right after E3 in June, which is pretty cool. I'm not really, and I think you could launch Crackdown in November, but I'm not sure you can launch Sea of Thieves in November. I'm not sure about that, but, I don't run the division, but you need those games. You need a strong first-party lineup, not only for this year, but for next year. And he also talked about how his team has spent time overhauling Xbox Live, and they want to put the same level of energy into first-party development. He says, it's a journey, started with focus on hardware, longest timelines. We rebuilt Xbox Live and operating system, bringing the same focus to IP. Now, that is a huge quote, because Xbox Live has, most of the time, 99% of the time, been freaking amazing. I know there's been some hiccups the last few days, but for the most part, Xbox Live is fantastic. The operating system has been redesigned, rebuilt since the launch of the 2013. They basically put a new operating system in it. It ran Windows 8, now it runs Windows 10. So if they're bringing that same passion, that same ingenuity that they've done with Xbox Live and operating system, what they've done with all that, and putting it towards their first party. Because Phil talked about that on Podcast Unlocked too, about how, remember when Scalebound got canceled, and Phil talked about how that was in the end going to be good for Xbox gamers, but people didn't really understand how. Like, what do you mean canceling Scalebound is good for the Xbox gamer, right? And he mentioned because now this would let him invest in maybe more first-party games, maybe a new studio or whatever. I'm hoping that's kind of what he's talking about here. Is like, I came into the position April of 2014. I immediately, removed Connect to get it priced with the PS4. There are things I needed to do immediately. And we all know games take a long time to make. They take 3 years, they take 2 years, they take 4 years. And we're maybe, like that passion that they've since the Xbox Live is great and the operating system is the best it's ever been, at least for the Xbox One, that now you can redirect that focus to the games and start bringing the fire with the games. That'd be remarkable. And that'd be absolutely amazing. I'm down for that. I want to see renewed focus from Microsoft Game Studios, and it would be great if. And when Phil says these things, I believe him, because I know Phil on a personal level. Me and him have talked countless times. So when he says these things, I believe him, because that's the type of person he is. He also talked about most of us will guess that Scorpio will get its full reveal at E3, blah, 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 blah. But Phil wouldn't commit to a date for the event. What he did stress, however, was giving software a chance to shine during E3. I wanted to give our games more time on stage at E3. I sometimes feel like we rush telling the story of our games at E3. Now this is huge, because I've said before, this E3 is monstrous for Xbox. You have a lot of good press with PlayStation right now, because they're selling the most. They got a lot of good games out there, Neo, Horizon, Nier, regardless if they're Sony first party or de facto exclusives because they're Japanese games. You got Nintendo, and, everybody loves Nintendo right now because of Zelda and all they're doing, right? And it seems like there's not a lot of excitement behind Xbox right now. And what would bring the excitement back to Xbox isn't necessarily Scorpio. Yes, Scorpio does get the fanboys and the uber fanboys super excited because it's a new console. People love new consoles. People are going to love gaming in 4K. Like, I remember the first time I saw Destiny running in upscaled 4K because I have an Xbox One S, and I was like blown away. I have yet to see a native 4K game, but people are going to be blown away. But that's just the hardcore market. You need to expand beyond that, right? And what gets people excited are new games that they didn't expect, but also the proper reveal and the proper time on stage, which is why I always said, and I've made a video about this, that having a Scorpio reveal event, before E3 is key, because you can take an hour to talk about Scorpio and what it does and what it can do and all the things that you need to in an hour-long press conference dedicated to it, because you can't have the same mistakes as 2013. Your messaging needs to be on point, right? And then at E3, give what gamers want. Gamers want new experiences that they can't get on any other platforms. PlayStation fans want PlayStation exclusive games that they can't get on Xbox and Nintendo. Xbox fans want new exclusive, exciting AAA games that they can't get on the other two platforms. That's what fans of those consoles want. And if you're going to cram Scorpio into a hour-and-a-half long segment and maybe have to dedicate 20 minutes to it, you're not giving the games the proper time to germinate, to resonate with the audience. I'm not saying don't do Scorpio at E3. I'm saying do it beforehand and then have like a little 5 to 10 minute segment, but focus on the games, because that is what people want. That is what gets people excited at the end of the day, are those exclusive games. And I know he understands this. I know he does. And it's great to actually see him tell people that, because look, the people at Microsoft are smart people. They hear all the feedback. They're on Twitter. They're surfing the forums. They're on the Xbox user feedback site. They're always taking everything that we say, and then they talk about it in their meetings. Of course, they know that all this stuff is important, that games are the biggest thing and the most important thing that you could possibly do. And yeah, but the question is, do they have the time? Like, are they actually going to reveal Scorpio before E3? I hope so, because I want to see them just full press games. Hour, 20 minutes at E3, where it's just games. Kind of like how it was at 2013 after that reveal event, but the negative stigma, people couldn't get past. I mean, I couldn't get past it either myself, but 2013 was pretty good because they were just games. Kind of running almost like Sony did last year. Like last year, Sony was just one game into the next game. That's what Microsoft needs to do. And they have to be exclusive because, like Phil said in the very first thing, like, first-party games are critical. They're critical to the success of the platform. And he also talked about the big Japanese publishers on board. He said he was encouraged by his trip to Japan. More work to do, but I'm committed to working with Japanese publishers. And yeah, that's great. Get those games on Xbox. Even if you're out there and you're like, I don't care about Nier, I don't care about those Japanese games, that's fine. But there are plenty of people who do care. And not having a game on your platform is a bad thing. You don't want to give de facto exclusives to your competition. And it just happens to be those de facto exclusives are actually really good games this time. Nobody would really care about Neo or Nier if those games were 50 or 60 on Metacritic. But people care and take notice because those games are in the high 80s and they're good games. That kind of builds upon it. So yeah, I would like to see those games on the Xbox as well. Not saying I would play them, but I know there's people who would play them. Anyways, guys. This video went on a little bit longer than I thought, but I had a lot to say about this stuff. Obviously, Phil had a lot to say about this stuff. So if you liked the video, hit that like button. Consider subscribing for more content. And I will see everybody tomorrow.